The Limerick Schools Board of Education meeting number 1532 is now called to order. And just to make a comment, in order to follow the St. Louis County Department of Public Health 2019 novel coronavirus order for business and individual guidelines for social distancing and reopening, the number of patrons and attendance currently here is limited, but the meeting is live streamed and may be viewed by the public on the district's YouTube channel. We'll move to 2.0. Dr. Lake, do we have any changes to the agenda?
We do not.
Okay, given that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Matt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 7-0. And at this time, we will stand, if able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, we'll move to one of the fun and exciting portions of the evening, which is our special recognition. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Michael Stratman, the principal of Truman Middle School, who will present those recognitions for us. Mike?
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the Board of Education for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of Truman Middle School. Tonight, I get to talk about 4 amazing members of our school over at Truman. First of all, I'd like to talk about our 2020 Truman Middle School Teacher of the Year, Mr. Greg Seagraves. Greg teaches 7th grade social studies at Truman and has been an influential part of the success of our 7th grade team and countless students. His ability to build relationships with his students is second to none. He also provides many fun and engaging ways to teach in the classroom. Greg is a supportive colleague who is always willing to help others. Greg, thank you for your service to Truman and our entire community. Our second person tonight is Mrs. Carrie Ake. She's our 2020 Truman Support Staff Person of the Year. Carrie is our library building assistant. She has been an integral part of the positive climate in the library and Launchpad. She greets students and staff by name and is so welcoming to all. Besides her typical library assistant duties, Carrie is someone the staff and students trust. You'll often see her taking time to connect with students. She's a well-respected, and we're lucky to have her in the library. Her infectious personality sets the tone for the building for all relationships with students and staff. Carrie, thank you for prioritizing relationships and supporting our school. We also get to recognize tonight 2 amazing students. They're both with us tonight. First off, I'd like to recognize Jessica Wheatley. She's an 8th grade student at Truman Middle School who is a stellar student, excels both academically and through her leadership. She has maintained exceptional grades her entire time at Truman Middle School. She is also a wonderful ambassador for Truman as a member of our flight crew, which is a student leadership group that supports the character growth of our students. This year, she took on the task of designing, pricing, planning, and creating t-shirts for every member of flight crew. She also came up with the idea of creating a weekly activism book talk that is shared every Monday in Flyer Times. Jessica is a true leader among her peers, as well as our entire school. They respect her and look up to her in many ways. Jessica has a very bright future ahead of her at Lindbergh High School. Thank you, Jessica, for all you do for Truman. Our last student tonight is Mac Saunders. Mac is a member of our flight crew as well, which is our student leadership group, and it has been for multiple years. His leadership and positive, fun-loving energy also brings happiness to our school. His personality is contagious. He always has a smile on his face, even under his mask, and is a true leader at Truman. This year in flight crew, Mac has volunteered to help the pep rally challenges and give tours to new students. He has also promoted the community project to his peers and can be seen in the district-wide promotional video. Every morning before school, you will see Mac greeting students in the hallway. He is a true leader among his peers. Mac, thank you for all you do for Truman. I just want to say one last thank you for allowing me to speak tonight and share a couple of wonderful people that we interact with on a daily basis at Truman and make Truman such a special place. Thank you all for being here tonight, and congratulations.
That's great stuff. Congratulations to all the recipients. There's great stuff going on at Truman. I love seeing that part of the meeting for sure. We'll move to 4.0, which is special recognitions. 5.0, consent resolutions and commendations. We do have two consent resolutions this evening. We have 5.0101, which is the Teachers of the Year that were recognized, and 5.0102, Support Staff Persons of the Year. So do I have a motion to approve the resolutions honoring the Teachers of the Year and Support Persons of the Year as presented?
So moved.
Moved by Jen, second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Now we move to 6.0, and this is the citizen comments regarding agenda items. And I believe we do have one regarding an agenda item, which is the EAB contract. Will we include that as an agenda item? or not?
EAB is, it's on the consent agenda.
Consent, okay. All right, so that, we'll have you come up, whoever signed up for that, we'll have you come up with the non-agenda items towards the end of the meeting. So we'll move to, if I can get my papers to go here, sorry. What? It's not an agenda item.
It's on the consent. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. We're going to pivot here, and we're going to have you come up. Barely Sauer, you can come up if you want to speak on the, please give your name and address as you come up, and you can speak on that item at this point.
Well, no, it is. We thought an individual item. It's on the consent. So
It's on the consent, but we'll do it at this time.
I just really want to, would like the board to describe what Women wants to do as a group. I went to the website and mentioned things like community-based organizing, racial justice, and equity. It looks like it could be related to some sort of data collection, rather than teacher training, and possibly even facilitating maybe our parent groups that are involved in working with the school. So I would like a little more information on this. It's a 3-year contract. It's also, it just reminds me of the EEC contract. I thought that was a 3-year contract, and I also wonder if we're still under that contract. I wish the board would look into that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just to refresh everyone, we usually keep the comments to 3 minutes or less, and we don't respond publicly to any comments made here, but somebody from administration or the board will reach out to you directly after this meeting. So given that, we'll move to 7.0, which is communications. We'll start with the calendar of events. Mrs. Secretary?
Yep, thank you, President Shamia. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Not a lot going on. We're finishing up the school year. So there's a strings concert, elementary strings concert on the 13th. There's a middle school spring concert on the 18th, all via YouTube. So it's kind of nice to sit in our jammies and watch the concerts. High school graduation is the 26th. And as I've been reading through principal emails or e-notes, it looks like each of the 5th grade elementary students will have a parade. The middle school 8th graders will have parades. And then the high school will also have a parade towards the end of the year. So I think that's really about it. Kind of summarizes it.
Okay. 7.02, this is where we have a report of meetings, so any board members who have attended state or other meetings, parent group meetings, any district meetings, anything related to the business of the school, Now's the time to discuss those. If anybody has anything.
Didn't have a lot, just a couple celebrations, which was nice to kind of be present and celebrate through National Honor Society, and looking forward to graduation.
Some in-person stuff. Anybody else? Okay. 7.03, we don't have any announcements, so we'll go to 7.04, which is to review the upcoming meeting agendas for the board. That's back to you.
It's coming up.
The agendas for the
Do I
upcoming
read
board
through
meetings.
it?
You just pick out highlights if you want.
Okay.
If there's anything.
So, sorry. Matt asked to help train me, and I didn't understand what he was saying. So on June 8th is our next regular meeting, and it looks like, let's see if there's any highlights. We'll go over our CSIP plan, facility use rates, go through meal prices, budget adjustments. We will honor the graduating class, 2024, support person of the year, teacher of the year. Not anything terribly exciting. Is that good? Anything I missed? No? Okay,
Good enough. I
All
think
right.
that'll work.
thanks.
7.05 is in reference to the Board of Education member appointments. So each member of the board does serve on various committees. So each year, the Lindbergh Board reviews the committees that board members serve on, and our list of committees' obligations and that what they're responsible for are available in board docs if you'd like to review the list. And board members will submit their committee choices to the Vice President, Jennifer Miller, and then we'll get our assignments for the upcoming year. So that's 7.05. 7.06 is the MSBA Board Report. So we will now watch the May MSBA report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report for the month of May. We thank you for the opportunity to share some news and information during a few minutes of your board meeting. We begin with a look at this spring's Missouri Assessment Program testing. Because of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on schools this year, the State Board of Education decided to continue with the annual MAP testing, but suspend the use of assessment results for accreditation and accountability purposes. Commissioner of Education Dr. Margie Van Dieven told those attending MSBA's recent legislative forum, it's important to use the assessment results to determine where students are academically as we emerge from COVID-19.
But what we're hearing is that kids are actually doing okay so far on some of the reading. They're at least maintaining. We want to do better. We're focusing on literacy, but they're maintaining. Where they're falling behind is elementary math because of those discrete math skills that are very challenging to do at home a lot of. So in particular, families are more comfortable picking up a book and reading to kids and engaging in those, just like we just said our teachers are. And so some of the discrete math skills, look at that in your districts, look at that in your data right now, and let us know how they're doing, because I'm concerned about that.
Van Dieven says it's important to know what was effective for Missouri students during the pandemic, where inequities exist, and where to apply resources. The MAP testing window is open through May 28th. Meanwhile, school districts in Missouri and throughout the nation are making decisions about how to use significant new funding available through the American Rescue Plan. Part of that new law includes $7.1 billion to help close the digital divide in education and give school districts flexibility to meet local needs. In Missouri, it's estimated that as many as 23% of students do not have adequate internet access at home to allow them to do schoolwork online. The National School Boards Association is asking the Federal Communications Commission to distribute the new federal funding through the current E-rate program. NSBA's Chief Advocacy Officer, Chip Slavin, told those attending MSBA's legislative forum the money will help provide devices and internet connectivity to students, teachers, and others.
It's a complex, complicated problem. But it is not one, if you hear a legislator or a member of Congress saying, well, we just gave you $7 billion, so we fixed the problem. I can assure you, we have not fixed the problem. It's a help. It's a blessing to get it. It's going to make a difference for some students temporarily. But long term, this has got to be a key part when we're talking about school infrastructure and when we're talking about equity, that we focus on closing this homework gap.
NSBA is emphasizing to the FCC the very different challenges public schools are facing with the digital divide based on their location, economic situation, and other factors, and that no one solution works for every school district or community. If you were just elected to your school board last month, congratulations and welcome to school board service. You're probably aware state law requires new board members to complete 18 and a half hours of training in your first 12 months of service. MSBA's free Certified Board Member Essential Training is approved by the State Board of Education to fulfill that requirement. A member of the Holden R3 Board of Education and a member of the MSBA Board of Directors, Georgia Jarman, believes it's important for newly elected board members to participate in the training as soon as possible.
I think one thing that is important to know is that we've all been to school, and so we believe that we know everything there is to know about school. But the reality is being a school board member is really an involved job. And to do it right, you need to understand the law, you need to understand your role, and you need to understand that everything you do needs to be guided by what's best for kids.
You can complete 10 and a half hours of training online and attend virtual or in-person interactive sessions for the remaining 8 hours. See the MSBA website for additional details. MSBA's Igniting Great Ideas Summit is set for June 18th and 19th in Springfield. This event features a wide range of topics and speakers related to school board leadership and current issues facing boards of education. We'll also be holding our June delegate assembly at the summit, when delegates will be electing statewide officers for the coming year. Every MSBA member board is entitled to have at least one voting delegate at the delegate assembly, and we urge your school board to be represented at this important meeting. You can watch video interviews with the candidates for state office posted on the MSBA website. Registration information on the Great Ideas Summit is posted on the MSBA website. Also, mark your calendar for the 2021 MSBA Annual Conference in cooperation with the Missouri Association of School Administrators to be held November 5th through 7th in Kansas City. The event will once again feature more than 100 sessions and workshops, many presented by school leaders from districts throughout the state, all in a new location in downtown Kansas City. In addition, MSBA's Center for Education Safety will be presenting its annual Safe Schools and Colleges Forum on November 4th, also in Kansas City. Get the latest information and guidance on school safety issues for those who govern and work in K-12 schools, colleges, and universities, as well as law enforcement officials. That's it for this month's edition of the MSBA Board Report. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and so long from Columbia.
All right, we'll move now to 8.0 under special reports, and this is cabinet updates where the cabinet members give us updates on the committees that they had. We'll start with Joelle with Facilities and Finance Committees.
We had our Finance Committee meeting last week. That meeting always precedes the board meeting, where a group of members of the community meet to go over board items and the bids and ask questions about finances. So that happens the Thursday prior to each board meeting. Our facility meeting, we had our last one. I think I reported that at the last meeting, so that won't meet again until September.
Sure. The HR advisory meets also on the Thursday before each board meeting. Excuse me. And each month we go over the personnel services report. For the month, we also reviewed COVID-19 data as it relates to our local area Good news, trends all going in the right direction, going down, as was mentioned in that meeting. So we'll have our monthly meeting again in June.
Thanks. I was in that meeting, and that was encouraging data that we were looking at for sure. We'll move to Tara, who has 3 committees: Student Life, Teaching and Learning, and Technology.
So in the last month, we've had each of those board advisories have met. Teaching and Learning reviewed our process for elementary ELA materials and how we are going to go through the process of narrowing down those selection of materials, look at developing an impact study, how we're going to have those resources available within each of our buildings for universal feedback. We're able to collect some input from the advisory members in order to help us build the rubric in the selection of those materials. For our technology board advisory, we really focused on the transition of K-5 iPads. So as you know, this year, our elementary students have had a mixture of Chromebooks and iPads depending on the grade level. And as part of our technology impact study, we are rolling out K-5 iPads going into next year. So I had a lot of conversations around take-home policies, getting feedback from the advisory as to what is appropriate for students to have accessible at home and what needs to stay at school. And so those conversations are ongoing. As a result of the feedback from the group, we've surveyed teachers as well to get some further information before making a final decision. And then our Student Life Board Advisory really delved into what we needed in terms of a mental health, mental wellness hub, what we need to put on our website to ensure that our families have access to resources at their fingertips and who to contact for support. I also want to point out that in our July board workshop, we are going to focus our conversations there around our work with equity. We have reached out to Floyd Cobb and John Crownapple with Core Collaborative, who do the work Belonging Through a Culture of Dignity, and they're going to join us for part of that meeting, and then that'll set us up for further conversation about how we continue our journey. Thank you.
That's great stuff. Thank you. And those board workshops are open to the public, just so everybody knows. And we'll stay 8.02, I think, with Dr. Sparks with the curriculum update on technology.
Yes, and just as a reminder to everyone in the audience, when we are doing a curriculum update tonight and for the board, not only are we presenting this live to everyone here, but we are also recording it so that it can be shared out in parent e-notes. So keep that in mind as the presenters are sharing tonight. I'm excited to share with you our technology integration work. As you know, in 2018, we partnered with Barry Dunn to do an assessment of our technology services and really evaluate what struggles we were having and how we could improve our technology integration in support of student learning. So tonight we have 3 members of the teaching and learning team who are going to share that journey and what has happened since then. We have Colin Davitt, our Blended Learning Coordinator. We have Dominic Jaggi, our Executive Director of Technology, and we have Jill Lawson, our Executive Director of Assessment and Student Services. So I welcome Colin up to start.
So there were 3 major themes that emerged during our technology audit that we conducted in 2018-2019 school year. These findings helped us formulate a clear vision and a plan to bring the ideas you see before you on this slide to life. The audit helped us form and execute a plan to increase student device access, hone in on best practices to support student learning, strengthen our network and infrastructure, and the final piece, digital wellness, emerged during our work on the above 3 ideas. So in the 1920 school year, we conducted an impact study in grades 3 through 12 across the district. Teams of teachers volunteered to use 1 of 2 devices for roughly a quarter. Once the quarter was over, the team switched devices to continue the learning. For example, if I had Chromebooks in the first quarter, Dominic would have iPads. During the conclusion of the first quarter, our classes would switch devices. That way, each class had enough time to truly dig into what the device was capable of through the whole entire time we were teaching our units and our chapters in our classrooms. At the end, we surveyed our staff and students to see what device would fit best at which level. Our pre-COVID plan was to provide 1 device per student in grades 3 through 12, but one of the valuable lessons that we learned during the pandemic was to rethink our distribution plan. We pivoted, and now our plan was to extend the 1 device per student all the way down to kindergarten. During the 2021 school year, the students in K-5 used an assortment of iPads and Chromebooks in their classrooms. Our timeline for the 21-22 school year is for all K-5 students to be on the same platform. For all K-5 students going forward, we'll be using the iPad for learning. So the keys to making this plan a success can be found in these 4 professional learning areas. To make a deep impact in learning, we need a comprehensive professional learning plan. We begin with our Canvas growth by implementing Canvassadors or Canvas ambassadors at the high school. The big idea was to grow our expertise across the departments to make sure we address the learning needs not only of our staff, but also of our students. We have participated in face-to-face and online conferences to learn new techniques and how to personalize the learning experiences using this platform. Throughout the pandemic, we hosted countless one-to-one and small group sessions, which allowed us to go deep to individualize the needs of our staff. Next, we are deploying new designs and using blended learning techniques to address the needs from our latest student survey. If we transition to Apple, in 1920, we began our partnership with Apple Professional Learning to bring their coaches to our campus. From that day, they have been helping us leverage our iPads in new ways. For example, using numbers for students to collaborate with interactive notebooks that serve as a portfolio of student learning. Another would be Clips. This fast tool enables the students to communicate what they have learned by showing and telling exactly what they have mastered. And then Chromebooks. This year we partnered with Microsoft to help us strengthen our use of OneNote. Think of OneNote as a notebook with superpowers. This notebook allows teachers to push and pull things from a student. Think of it, a teacher has the ability to add a video right in line with their math notes, empowering the student to look back for assistance long after class. The same students then can add a short demonstration video to their notes, allowing the teacher to see their thinking. We added WeVideo, which allowed our students the ability to create their own video documentaries this year. By pairing WeVideo, an online video editing suite, and the documentary process, the students had 2 ways to show mastery of their learning targets. So, technology staff, soon you will hear about the new hardware and software we've added this year alone. Every deployment is paired with technology staff training so we can make sure that we're utilizing the new tools to their fullest capacities.
We want to have a safe learning environment for our students. So in the next few slides, we're going to go over some of the things that we've implemented to help protect our students. The district uses Google Workspace for education, so protecting access to those accounts is critical. This past year, we implemented 2-factor authentication on all staff Google accounts. This adds another layer of protection that drastically reduces the chances for someone to gain access to their account. In addition, any staff member that chooses to have their Limburg account on their phone is forced to have a passcode on that device. And with all the students having devices and all those devices logged in with their Limburg accounts, we want to make sure any software that we push to the devices is FERPA compliant, and any information the software may collect is used for school purposes only. We purchased EdPrivacy to help vet the software for compliance. EdPrivacy reads through the privacy policies for compliance and gives us a software score. As you can see with this picture, we put in Zoom. If you type in Zoom, it'll give you a compliance report for that piece of software. So if you see it says a FERPA thumbs up, if we get that thumbs up, then we can push that out to the student devices. And in addition to that, if with the click of a button, we can post that to our district technology website, so that way it's viewable for all parents to see what kind of software we use. Next slide. We previously only had filters while at school, and when we transitioned to every student having a device, we installed securely filtering software on all student devices to help protect them from accessing inappropriate sites. Now, the same filters that are applied at school are also applied while the devices are at home. These are the categories that we're currently blocking, with some exceptions for specific educational websites. As you can see on the, these are the categories that are currently blocking, and as you can see on the bottom right, We have games under review. That came from our technology committee. They were wondering if we should still consider games to be blocked. And so we'll still discuss that with our technology committee, and maybe we may unblock that while the students are at home. This slide shows some other features of Securely that we use to help protect our students. Securely Auditor scans communications for instances of nudity, cyberbullying, suicide, and violence. When Securely detects one of these instances, it sends an email notification to a building counselor, the building principal, and select district administrators so they can have a conversation with that student if needed. Securely 24 is a team of specialists that monitors flagged activity 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So when Securely gets a flagged alert, they will evaluate the context of the words along with recent searches of the student and websites visited to determine a risk factor for that student. Depending on the risk factor, Securely will email, text, or call Lindbergh School's administrator until they get a response. For extreme risk, Securely will call the police for a wellness check if they are unable to get a response from the district administration. So far, we haven't had that happen yet. Lastly, Securely Home was rolled out in January to parents. Parents have the ability to download the Securely Home app to view their students' online activity, get notifications for flagged activity, and get weekly reports on their students' online activity. The next few slides will go over some of the improvements we made since the technology audit. The audit exposed some frustrations students and staff had with inconsistent Wi-Fi and difficulties connecting to our network. This was considered a critical priority for us, given that we were making plans on rolling out devices to all the students. We evaluated and quickly realized the current wireless was not giving us the results that we wanted, and we started evaluating the Aruba wireless. We were attracted to Aruba Wireless because some of the features on the slide that makes the wireless more reliable, the increased speeds and the self-healing features make it more reliable. We tested Aruba at the high school and received positive feedback, so we made plans to roll it out to the rest of the schools. We will complete that rollout this summer, finishing with the elementary schools. In order to avoid downtime and frustrations that go with that, we implemented a new monitoring system for our critical equipment. This is a dashboard that is on a TV in our office. It gives us real-time status of our critical equipment. Typically, and what you see on the screen is everything's in green. However, if we have problems or if there's increased activity, that equipment will highlight in orange, letting us know that there could be a problem. We can go out, hopefully fix that problem before people realize that there's a problem that's even existing. And if it can turn red and we know that there's a piece of equipment down, hopefully we can get there before school starts. The audit also recommended that we get a cybersecurity assessment every year. Since we are a member of Mornet, they offer this service as part of their membership. This year we scored very good on the audit, and they gave us some suggestions on things that we can improve. We have already made improvements to those suggestions, and we will continue to make improvements to our security and perform these assessments every year. In addition to those improvements, we implemented a new secure wireless system this past year as we rolled out devices to all the students and staff. We also removed some older firewalls and transitioned to newer firewalls. This reduced our entry points into our network, making it more secure. Since phishing attacks may be the biggest threat to our network security, we purchased Cofense. This software simulates phishing attacks for training purposes. It gives us statistics on how many users are clicking on the links and entering information. Users that click links are redirected to a training page that shows them how to recognize phishing emails. We have sent 3 phishing email scenarios over the past 4 months, and each one gradually getting harder and harder to recognize, and we are still able to reduce the click rate from 35% to 10%. This slide shows some infrastructure upgrades we made to make sure that we stay ahead of the demand on our network. We upgraded our internet connection this year from 1 gig to 2.5 gig, and we will upgrade it again this summer to 4.75 gig. Also, we have equipment in that has the capacity to go to 10 gigabits per second, so we can easily just up it to 10 gigabits per second if we need that. We also are installing new caching servers this summer that will also be 10 gigabits per second. That will help the performance of our network. We also moved some of our servers to be hosted by the vendor. This makes our network more secure while making the services more accessible from outside the district. We will continue to weigh the cost benefit of these hosted services and make the change when it makes sense. We have improved our own hosted servers to be replicated every 15 minutes to reduce data loss and downtime, and we are making more changes this summer to hopefully eliminate the downtime or reduce it even further.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to share the work that our digital wellness group has been organizing this year. So our work with digital wellness is an important part of our whole child journey to ensure that students are leaving Lindbergh not only equipped with the necessary content level skills, but equipped with those success skills that are paramount for our students' lives. So our digital wellness framework is unique in that it captures what is really important: students doing the right thing. So the framework is being developed and presented to the board tonight. It focuses on 5 different digital behaviors: being inclusive, informed, engaged, balanced, and alert. And each of these components illustrate what citizens do on a daily basis, both online and off. So each of these components captures what we really hope Lindbergh students will know and be able to do before they graduate, such as be inclusive. Here, students are open to multiple viewpoints and respectful and empathetic with others online. Being informed, students are evaluating the accuracy and validity of digital media. Being engaged, students are using technology for civic engagement to solve problems and do good in the world. Being balanced, students are prioritizing time and activities online and off. Being alert, students are being safe and creating safe spaces for others online. Next slide. So the framework focuses on the do's for digital citizenship, which we are calling digital wellness. And our work is anchored to provide students with the support that they need so we can teach them what to do and then give them an opportunity to practice and reflect on those expectations. Next slide. The committee is in the process of creating grade level appropriate expectations that align to the digital citizenship framework. So this is an example of a kindergarten draft that we want to post and share with you tonight. So as you can see, this is just a draft and definitely a work in progress, but there are many areas where the work is already happening, and we just need to put it in one place. So our committee is seeking input from librarians, counselors, health teachers, grade level teachers, parents, and students. And we are laying out this work that is happening in these 5 areas so we can determine opportunities where there's coverage and opportunities where there's areas of coverage and also opportunities to grow. So we will continue to work on this digital wellness framework over the summer and share updates with the board along the way.
Any questions on the work regarding technology integration? Just want to point out, digital wellness wasn't originally in our assessment of technology services, but obviously it's something that as we use technology more and more with our students, it's a priority, and it's one that we want to make sure that we do in conjunction with families. There's a lot of transfer that happens outside of the school environment when we're talking about digital use, and so finding a way to have digital wellness be a school-home connection is really important in our work.
And I would just make a quick comment. That audit that we did, in that first year that I was here is really serving as that blueprint for us. And I think it's really important for you as a board and the community to see that we're using that to guide our work and making sure that we stay focused on that. And you think about Wi-Fi, dependability and security and all of those things 3 years ago to where they are today. Dominic and his team and Colin's training with staff and Jill's
work around this is just, I mean, it's really good. I mean, that's all I can say is it's really, really good. And we are as good as anybody out there and as safe for our kids and making sure that they're protected and giving them and teaching them the skills they need. So good job, team. That's really, really impressive. Good job.
I was just going to say thank you also. And then in the principals' newsletters, can they do a little blurb about that? Is it COFINS? Is that what that thing was called? The COFINS.
With the fishing training?
Yeah.
Yeah, that came up actually in one of our board advisory meetings, that parents probably need that same, like, opportunity. So, one of the things that Beth and I are working on as we go into next year is, some rotation of things that are very purposely put into those principal e-notes that address digital wellness, fishing, because fishing would be part of that alert component of that framework.
Especially just at the senior level when you've got the colleges and things like that, knowing what to look for and not. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'll echo that and say thank you to the technology team. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into providing, maintaining, and making sure the proper usage of these technology devices. So it's appreciated. You guys do a heck of a job at it. So thank you. We'll move to 9.0. We have action items by consent. We have items 9.01 through 9.16. Would anyone like to remove any of these items for individual consideration? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the action items by consent 9.01 to 9.16 as presented?
I have a question for clarification.
Okay.
Before we go on.
Do we have a motion and a second first, and then we'll go to questions?
We'll go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by Kathy,
Second.
second by Megan. Okay. Now, Mike, we'll get the discussion.
And I know, Terry, you and I have had conversations over this, and you know, as we've discussed even in the technology committee at times, but I have a lot of concern over, how we survey students, what we do with the data, where the data ends up going, that such data is secure. And I just wanted to, for clarification for anybody else here too, does this contract involve any type of surveying of students?
EAB is strictly a research partner, so we are not, they do not offer surveying services at all. We use them for when we have specific projects that we need deeper research on in order to evaluate. And then they also do national projects over the course of long periods of time. So, for instance, 2 years ago, they had a long-term project on mental wellness with a lot of professional learning that they sent to us to support our journey. They also, that same year, did a full segment on principal professional learning and how to support principal development. And then we also contract with them when it's time for us to do, for instance, digital wellness is something I just asked them recently to pull national research on, and they were able to give us best practices regarding that to help us in our work.
So their input was used for the digital wellness, which we just went over.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, thanks. Thanks for clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Let's be clear, it's not a survey, it's a research. And so basically when we have topics and we want to know what best practices are out there, we use them to help us because, our team is limited. So this is like, instead of paying a researcher 6 figures to do it, we pay this company to do that research for us to make sure that we are providing the best service for professional learning and best opportunities and programs for our kids. That's what this is about.
And didn't we use them too when we were looking into full-day kindergarten?
I believe we used Hanover on that one, correct?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That same
so
type of
we had two for a
information.
while, and we're narrowing it to one partner for the future.
Yeah, so we had Hanover and EAB, and to see which one met our needs the best, and we're going with EAB and dropping off Hanover. Is what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, anything else? Okay, so we'll vote now on a motion to approve the items by consent. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. 10.0, individual action items. We do have 3 of those on the agenda tonight. We'll start with 10.01, which is school start times. Dr. Sparks?
So as we shared in our April board meeting, the School Start Times Task Force has completed their work and made the recommendation to adjust times. We did have a Hanover survey that was completed by over 3,000 of our community members to give input on that. And so the final recommendation from the task force as a result of that input was to move to an elementary start time of 8:55 with an end time of 3:45, retain middle school at the 7:40 to 2:40 time period, and then move high school to 8 to 3 p.m. daily. So that is the recommendation that we have before you tonight.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the shift in school start time scheduled to begin in 2021-2022 school year as was presented?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Matt, second by Christie. Any discussions or additional questions before we move to vote?
Tara, how long did the task force meet? Like, when was their first meeting and how often did they meet?
We met every couple of weeks, starting March 5th, 2020. So we started meeting right before, and then continued those meetings through the original lockdown, and then finalized the survey in the fall, waited for that process to go through, and then surveyed families, students, and staff in January.
And then what type of people comprised of the committee?
It was, we had teachers, we had students, we had the athletic director, we had our director of community programs who would support Flyers Club, the gamut of all members. So I'm trying to think who else, I'm going through my mental models of who else was on the committee. Teachers, parents, administrators.
Transportation was also involved?
Transportation was also, yes.
Tara, just briefly, thumbnail sketch of the results of that survey. Overwhelmingly supportive?
Definitely. When you look at the proposed survey compared to the current let me rephrase. When you look at the proposed start times, 58% were either found that very appealing or appealing compared to 30% who did not. The remainder would have been in neutral. When we look at the current schedule, it was 39% of families finding and staff finding that appealing or very appealing, and 39% who equally found it unappealing. Where we start to see some differences in that data is at the elementary level. Elementary was much more neutral in the data, meaning that for the most part, the level of appealing versus unappealing was almost identical, with a slight increase in the appeal side. And the concerns that we've heard from that have been really more around, students getting home a little bit later because it does extend the end of the school day, and some concerns around before school care as well.
Right. Okay. So overall, it was supportive. It was more or less a split out at the elementary level.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
And even with middle school not changing times, middle school was highly in favor, and I think that's because, again, I'm making an assumption here, they're seeing that high school on the horizon is something that they would be in favor of making that change.
I think it also had to do with the busing, because by starting high school after middle school, the bus will be running a little later instead of 6:40 in the morning.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a big point to this, because some of the feedback has been middle school's not even changing. How is this benefiting early adolescents? And the reality is that the entire bus system will move back in the morning. So there will be more time for those students as well, if they ride the bus.
That's good.
Okay. Anything else before we move to vote? Okay. Voting on the motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries 7-0. 10.02 is the Southwest Food Service Excellence Contract Renewal. That's Joelle.
Yes, this is an annual renewal. We go out to bid 5 years, 3 to 5 years for food service vendors. This is annual renewal for our food service vendor, our management team that provides resources and administers our program. Note that the district still owns the program, that we just hire them as a resource to manage that. All of the revenue for the program comes to the district, and then we pay them back for the expenditures. We went out to bid for that, and it's a 5-year bid. We can change that prior to the 5 years. That's why we bring this to the board annually to, based on service, the renewal for the next year. So this food service program is a $2.5 million program within the district, and the increase for their administrative fee, we pay at cost per meal. Like I said, we pay all the expenditures for the program, and we receive the revenue, and then we pay SFE a cost per meal. So participation drives their revenue. Of course, this year, everybody's had free meals, so, and there hasn't been much revenue because of the COVID, but their escalating clause for this year is just right under a 4% increase in their management fee. So, and we are pleased with their services. I am very pleased with their services.
Okay, thank you, Joel. So do I have a motion to approve the renewal of Southwest Food Service Excellence, also known as SFE, contract for 2021-2022 as presented?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Mike, second by Jen. Any discussions or questions for Joelle? Okay, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries 7-0. Back to Joelle for 10.03, which is the first student transportation, the annual contract escalation.
Yes, this is also a service for the district. It's about $2.3 to $3 million a year for transportation to the students in our district. This service is bid every 3 to 5 years. We have a current contract with annual service renewals, so we have 5-year rates with coming to the board annually to renew their services based on performance. Their escalation clause for this year is a 3% rate increase. And we've been doing a lot with transportation, working on a lot of efficiencies, and First Student has been right alongside us along the way. They've participated in many studies that we've been doing for the last few years, so I would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the 3% annual escalation rate increase for services provided by First Student for 2021 and 2022?
So moved.
Moved by Kathy.
Second.
Second by Megan. Any discussion or questions on that particular item? All right, we'll move to a vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that also carries 7-0. 11.0, reports for the record. We have 4 items for the record. 11.0101 is the Rights and Responsibilities Handbook, which falls under Tara. 11.0102, the Special Education Program Evaluation, also yours. 11.0103, the CSIP, the Comprehensive Student Improvement Plan. That's a first reading under Dr. McKinney. And 11.0104 is the Compass, the cabinet tracks. So those are all for the record. If you have any questions, you can reach out to the individuals responsible. We don't have any other reports or review of any policies. So given that, we'll move to 12.01. This is why a lot of you came this evening, citizen comments regarding non-agenda items. So this is the time we'll hear those comments regarding topics that were not on the agenda tonight. When I call your name, and forgive me if I don't get it exactly correct, I'll try my best, but please come forward and restate your name, give your address, the topic you wish to speak about, and remember that if somebody has already spoken specifically on the topic you're addressing, we ask that you bring something different and not sort of repeat what has already been commented on. Just be cognizant of that. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, so Jen here will have a card that she puts up when you have 1 minute time remaining, so we're just being aware of everyone's time, and we try and limit it as best as possible. Definitely just trying to be as civil as possible in here, and we will not comment publicly to your statements, but somebody will return response to you from the administration or the board. So we'll start with Mary Core.
My name's Mary Core. I live at, do you want the actual street address and everything? 1311. What's wrong? Yes. 1311 Samoa Drive, St. Louis 63126. So, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I wear several hats in this district, but I'm here tonight as a parent. I have had a child in this district every year since 2005. I have seen great progress from Lindbergh in regards to equity and diversity, most notably in the past 3 years. As a mother to 3 biracial children, I couldn't be more grateful for your commitment to all children. Recently, there has been a lot of media coverage on race and if anti-racism should be taught in schools. We are all aware of the battle happening in our neighboring districts, and I'm starting to hear the same fear from parents in this district. I am here to speak for the many parents in this district, myself included, who support this work in our schools and who feel we will be doing a huge disservice to not only our children of color, but all of our students. I grew up at a time when we were taught to not see color. Slaves were referred to as workers in textbooks, and Martin Luther King Jr., along with the Civil Rights Act, put an end to unequal treatment. This seemed to serve me well. I saw the world through rose-colored glasses, and because of that, I was unable to appreciate or understand the struggles and life experiences of someone different than me. Fast forward to when I had my first child. Those rose-colored glasses no longer served me well, yet I didn't even know what I didn't know. I made some terrible mistakes. My limited understanding of how every fiber of America's fabric is interwoven with white dominant ideals prevented me from understanding how my own child might have different life experiences than me. Thankfully, my child had some amazing teachers in this very district who knew the importance of talking about race, who understood the importance of representation in books, who did see my child, skin color and all, who validated my child's identity. My firstborn still recalls how her first grade teacher at Crestwood Elementary introduced her to a book where the main character was black. She is 21 now, but still remembers her excitement. My oldest child has been my greatest teacher, and I owe that in part to some of the incredible teachers in this district who knew the importance of doing their own anti-racism work, and then brought that knowledge into the classroom so that each child felt seen and understood. Just as reading and math curriculums evolve and improve over time, so should the way we teach our children about their history. I could argue that the racial divide we see in our country is because we have had the mindset of not seeing color, and by doing that, we have failed to look through a critical lens and address barriers that were purposely put in place to hold people of color back. The misguided idea that we are teaching our white children that they are bad or should feel shame is simply false. Are German children not taught the horror that was the Holocaust because it would make them feel bad? That rationale seems ridiculous to most. When my youngest came home after talking about Rosa Parks and said she would have been the only one in her class at the back of the bus, I wasn't angry and she wasn't scarred by that knowledge. Instead, we acknowledged what that must have felt like and how grateful we were that those laws have changed. Why then is it un-American or harmful to teach how our history of white supremacy still seeps into every system in this country? Why do we learn history? So that we don't repeat it. Our children can handle the truth and they deserve to look through a critical lens instead of the rose-colored ones of the past. I stand with our teachers who are bravely incorporating social justice and anti-racism in their lessons. I commend Lindbergh administration for
Mary,
seeing
we're against time, so we'll have to wrap it up here.
for seeing the importance of this work, and I urge you to continue moving forward in your work on equity and diversity. As Maya Angelou said, we do the best we can with what we know. When we know better, we do better. We all know better. It's time to do better. Thank you. Sorry I went over time.
Okay, that's all right, thank you. Next, we have Sarah Vescovo.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Vescovo. I live at 814 South Sappington Road, St. Louis 63126. Hello, board members and Lindbergh community. My name is Sarah Vescovo, and I'm here tonight to share my deep appreciation for this district's work toward equity and diversity. and to urge everyone to think carefully about who we want to be as a community. My husband and I have 3 children in the district, but tonight I'm going to speak specifically about our youngest child's experience. This district's diversity work has already impacted her in a powerfully positive way. At school, she learns about different cultures and celebrations. She sees diverse characters in books and learns how to be more caring, compassionate, and empathetic as a result. She has been exposed to some amazing things during her short time in this district. She has learned about the Chinese New Year, Ramadan. Her class has completed units on hair and skin tones. She has learned Black history along with current influential African Americans. She has gained awareness about different disabilities. These are just a few examples from her amazing education thus far. An even more specific example of my child's growing empathy because of this work around diversity happened a few weeks ago. On a Saturday afternoon, she said, "Oh no, I ate." I responded with, "Well, of course you did, honey, it's almost noon." She said, "Well, I was gonna fast." I said, "You are not Muslim, you don't have to fast." She said, "I know, I just wanted to know how it felt for other people when they fast for Ramadan." She has a student who is celebrating this holiday in her class, and my child wanted to understand her better, be connected to her, and feel what she may feel. She wanted to see her classmate as a whole person. Every single part of her. That was an amazing moment for me as a parent. Her heart has grown exponentially this year because of this very important work. Though our district is primarily white, there are many other students who deserve to be seen and represented, who need to be seen and represented in order to thrive. This equity and diversity work is crucial for every student. As my white child learns about the world around her, it is important for her to become more aware and able to adjust and interact when she is in different, more diverse settings. Always centering the white perspective does a disservice to every single child in this district and prevents this type of growth and understanding. Throughout the year, I have never heard her express shame about her whiteness, only a celebration of her identity, as well as others. Instead, she comes home daily excited to share what new wonderful things she has learned. During a unit on skin color, she spoke openly after school about how beautiful every person's skin was. You see, she sees others' differences as beautiful and embraces those differences because they make us each unique. She also sees similarities that bind us together. At age 5, she sees our interconnectedness. I am here to say thank you for the work you are doing to make our district more equitable for every single student. Thank you for hiring teachers like my child's teacher who understand and value the importance of teaching our students about diversity, for encouraging teachers to feature a variety of diverse books that represent every child, and for exposing our children to different cultures. Thank you for setting the standard for our district to be curious and kind. This is the kind of community we want to be, the kind of citizens we want to raise. I am also very thankful to Lindbergh for hiring Dr. Mapp as our Director of Inclusion, Equity, and Diversity.
Sarah, I'll let you know we are past time.
Over, okay, thank you.
You can wrap up. Thank you. Next, yeah, it's tough to see the sign, we know. Next, we have Tara Tenen.
Good evening. My name is Tara Tenen. I live at 12776 Nanell Lane, 63127. I'm here tonight on behalf of the parent group, Lindbergh Equity and Diversity Coalition, and this is the statement that we wanted to have read tonight. So, members of Lindbergh Equity and Diversity Coalition are happy to see the addition of a Director of Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity for the 2021-2022 school year. We are excited to welcome Dr. Jeremy Mapp to our community and are looking forward to the wealth of knowledge and perspective he will bring with him. LEAD as an organization is particularly grateful to read of his appreciation and celebration of individual differences and his commitment to building relationships with district families and colleagues. Making this position a priority, both by allocating protected time and salary to support it, is a big step, but it's only one of many needed to move this work forward. We are looking forward to learning the specifics of his goals for the district. We want to acknowledge Lindbergh's stated goal to uphold high academic standards for all students through culturally responsive classroom instruction, professional learning, and sustainable relationships with community stakeholders, as these are things that we value as well. During this time of public concern over diversity and equity and inclusion work in schools, we are asking the district to publicly remind our families of this dedication through an email or a statement. We see the empathy, compassion, and solidarity our children feel when they're taught to acknowledge and celebrate each other's differences. We see them leaning in with curiosity, asking thoughtful questions, growing in awareness, and sharing the love that they feel for their classmates, not despite their different ethnic and racial diverse backgrounds, but because of these differences. They're also easily able to recognize how they are truly alike at the end of the day by sharing their values, interests, and friendships with one another. The rich culture within our district is no doubt something to be proud of, to shed light on, and to celebrate, as the more we know, the more we grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bess Fitzmaurice.
Hello, Bess Fitzmaurice, 9236 Caddyshack Circle. Good evening. Recently, I saw a press release on the Lindbergh website in which U.S. News and World Report ranked Lindbergh High School 10th in Missouri and 920th nationwide. This is a significant increase from the school's 2020 rankings. Wow. This is really something to be proud of, truly a feather in our cap. But I also noticed in that same press release that an alarming number of students are not proficient in math or reading. While we should celebrate the great people, programs, and progress shown by this press release, we should also note that nearly 30% of students are underperforming in math and 25% in reading. There has been a tremendous emphasis in our district lately on equity. In fact, I see that our district will be adding a team of diversity and inclusion administrators and equity officers to the payroll, which I imagine will come with a host of resources and support staff. How much will this cost, and what exactly are their job descriptions? What policies will they shape, promote, and implement, and how can parents review them? Is there a parent-faculty committee to help with this process? In addition, we have a contract with EEC, but I can no longer find them on the website. Are we still in contract with them, and will they still be training teachers and administrators this summer? If so, what is the total bill for their services and training? As with any budget, we have to choose wisely how we spend our money. I have to ask, is this the best use of our district's resources? If we want equity, wouldn't it make sense to focus on doing what is necessary to help the students lift their understanding of and competence in reading and mathematics? How can we even think of celebrating what should be great news when nearly a third of students are underperforming? After all, the opportunities of a person who cannot read or do math will be extremely limited. Education is the ultimate equalizer. I propose we look at how our dollars, teacher training hours, personnel, and other resources are going. Let's look at them critically, not only to achieve equity for each child, but to ensure each and every student in Lindbergh is flourishing in reading, math, and in all areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mackie Randleman.
Mackie Randleman, 9859 Sappington Road. Again, I'm sorry. English is still third language as last time. I'll try 3 minutes. I was here last month with a request not to teach identity lessons in our schools. Every person's identity is private and connected to personal beliefs and ideologies. For me, my most core identity is established on the historical fact that Jesus of Nazareth died for me. and I am a child of God through the cross. That's who I am. Not Japanese, not Hebrew speaker. That's who I am. I know that every nation of men are created from one blood, as St. Paul tells us in Book of Acts. But I also know that other people would hold different views of their identities, and we should all agree on this identity principle. It is deeply connected to personal ideology, and we are to respect each other. Therefore, schools should not interrupt personal ideology and shape children's identity with a set of other ideologies against any beliefs or ideologies. It is a violation of freedom of belief and religion. I am here tonight to report again about the identity activity that happened at high school on March 30th. The students were given a survey of identity profile and were encouraged to fill their beliefs, gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity, and so on. The activity was provided by Southern Poverty, which the legislation at the state capital called out as CRT organization. Same day, I raised my concerns to the administration of the school. I also pointed out that it was a violation of privacy, and 2 weeks later, I was here to report about this activity. I referred to the instruction of the Department of Education, which tells to avoid isolation of race. I have not received any response from the board. 10 days later, the district held Professional Development Day on April 23rd. The students stayed home, so the teachers can have this opportunity of PD Day. The survey that over 2,000 students filled on March 30th were used by the teacher for this PD. Unlike Youth Truth Survey, for this identity activity, the parents were not informed or asked permission to allow students to attend. Students did not know that there would be use of their papers as lab samples of identity training for the teachers. This is clear violation of the law and trust. Schools are forbidden collecting personal information without agreement of guardians. Not to talk of the use of it to train teachers, it is far beyond hiding the learning material from the parents on Canvas. I am calling Board of Education with the following actions. Call to action 1, include this citizen statement into public record and provide me with a record. Call to action 2, open immediate investigation of this identity survey and the use of the data for professional development training and report back to the community with the transparent information. CRT or not, please stop this obsession of shaping students' identities. It is our job to do. Not of the school.
And Mackie, we are up against time, so if you can wrap it up.
I am handing out to 7 board members all materials that I have here so that you can look through it. I have here the presentation that I received from the administration on March 30th. It starts with April 23rd. It has been already planned on March 30th to take this survey so the teachers can look at identity, how it affects.
You can provide us with that, and then we'll have to wrap it up, though.
Okay, and I also attached all the law languages so you can look at it.
Okay. Okay, we will move on to Diane Dragon next.
Good evening, Diane Dragon, 9036 Middlewood Court. I'm here to talk on literacy, as I often am. Listening to all these passionate parents concerned about the content of our curriculum is wonderful. Districts thrive on active, involved parents. The irony in all of it to me is that regardless of what you all decide to teach our children, an unacceptably large percentage of our kids will be unable to read it without assistance or support. Lindbergh High School is congratulating itself on being in the top 2% of the state.
The fact that we can accomplish that while we leave behind 25% of all of our high school students and 50% of our children of minorities as not proficient readers is the real tragedy, in my opinion. We are beginning our new ELA curriculum cycle, review cycle, and the exact same people that got us into this predicament are the ones deciding how to move forward. No parents are being allowed to participate or observe. No outside experts are being brought in. Why the ELA, the English Language Arts curriculum decisions need to be decided in private meetings without any outside input is exactly how we end up in a room full of upset parents. The lack of transparency in the process and the absolute refusal to allow any parent participation is inappropriate. According to the presentation done by Dr. Hamby and Dr. Lawson to this board just 2 months ago, 50% of our first grade children are failing to meet basic reading benchmarks. We are barely clinging to the 50th percentile in the nation, and yet we are congratulating ourselves. While we celebrate being the cleanest dirty shirt in the state, what is going to happen to our marginally literate graduates as they walk across the stage in a few weeks? Thank you.
All right, we'll move on now to Brian Irwin.
Hi, my name is Brian Irwin, 9129 General Grant Lane, 63123. I am the parent of 2 kids at Sappington Elementary, and I'm here to voice my support for Lindbergh's equity and inclusion curriculum. As much as we may wish it was not the case, the facts are that today, race does matter. Studies bear this out in almost all aspects of society. Economics, education, healthcare, criminal justice, racial disparities exist in all of these areas and more. These are broad societal problems, and it's important to note that that's what this curriculum is tackling. Systemic racism is different from individual racism. No one is calling any kids racist. Changing these systems needs to happen to move toward racial equity, but our children cannot do this if we hide this information from them rather than educating them. Let me tell you what I learned in school about Hispanic cultures. Nothing. About Asian cultures. Also nothing. For Black history, I learned that the Civil War ended slavery. Things were murky for about 90 years while George Washington Carver made inventions out of peanuts. Then a new wave of racism sprung from nowhere and ran rampant until Martin Luther King ended it once and for all with no lingering after effects. And where's an example of where that education got me? One day in high school, at an after-school activity, I told my friend Jermaine, who was Black, that I was walking back to my house to get something I'd forgotten and asked if he wanted to come with me. I remember the way he looked at me and said, "No, there's no way I'm walking through your neighborhood." And I was stunned. After all, my education had told me that race didn't matter, that racism was over. But Jermaine knew what I didn't, that race does matter, and that a Black teenager walking through a white neighborhood may not be a welcome sight. Since my education gave me no framework for even beginning to understand where Jermaine was coming from, I didn't know how to respond. I think I might have told him he was crazy for having those thoughts, completely invalidating his viewpoint. That did him no good. I felt confused and defensive, so I just shunted the moment aside and didn't think about it again until I was an adult. That did me no good. It was an uncomfortable moment, maybe even a little scary. I gather that's what a lot of people who are hearing some of the information in this curriculum for the first time are feeling, especially if their first exposure to the issue is through opponents of the curriculum, many of whom deliberately frame their opposition in inflammatory language to stoke fear. Could the Lindbergh School District and community react the same way I did, by putting these facts aside and ignoring them? Probably. We are a school district that, depending on which website you consult, is 85 to 93% white. I'm talking to an all-white school board. I can go into every single classroom, K through 5, of my kids' school and not see a single teacher who's a person of color. But wouldn't failing to confront these facts about our society be perpetuating the very cycles we're trying to work against? Do we want our kids to know better than we do and therefore be unable to do better than we do? I don't think we do. So I'm glad that you're willing to tackle issues that make people uncomfortable and prompt questions from our kids, because we can't achieve racial equity by pretending that we already have. I thank you for acknowledging this and support you as you continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have David Yates.
Hi, I'm David Yates, 9331 Queenston Drive, 63126. I have a 9-year-old daughter. She is third grader at Lawn Elementary. And my wife and I send her to a public school because we want her to be around kids, interact with kids who don't go to the same kind of church as she does, who don't look like she does, who have different family structures that she does. I talked to a number of parents, some of whom took their kids out of the school during COVID because they wanted to go to a school that was doing something a little bit different, but they're looking forward to coming back from a private school to Lindbergh because of that, because they want their kids to be around people who are different than they are. So again, I echo a lot of the sentiment that I've seen here. I appreciate what's going on with the equity and diversity programs that Lindbergh is starting to tackle. I was talking to my daughter about what her experience has been, and she really appreciated like February, Black History Month, it's very obvious where you're talking about other communities. She did a project on Aretha Franklin. She thought that was great. Her mother thought it was great. She's a big fan. And there are a number of books that she gets to see, but that is wonderful. And I want you to help me do more. It's not enough to read the books, to see the videos, to talk about it just in the classroom. My daughter's 9, and I'm so excited that in this very white community, a lot of her kids don't look like her. It excites me a great deal. Someday my daughter will be 16. It'll be much harder for her to have those friendships because at 9, the world has treated kids who look like my daughter and kids who look differently pretty much the same. By 16, it's going to be wildly different. And I got to echo Brian's sentiment that when I was growing up, I didn't have a framework for dealing with that. Help me give my daughter a framework for dealing with that. Looking at the social and emotional development and how diversity impacts that. Help me make her a better friend at 16 to be the friend she is now at 9. That she understands those experiences. And that you're working with me to make that happen. I appreciate the hard work that you do, dealing with a lot of flack, trying to make the best decisions for a community. And I really support what's going on with the equity and diversity initiatives. Thank you.
Next, we have Brian Pence.
Brian Pence, 10827 Lieber Drive. Wanted to let you know as I come here today, my concern is basically transparency and where we are as a structure of learning, where we are as a process. What are the tools we're utilizing as we transform into an intentful, diverse approach to learning and equity, as the term is used now, versus the racial theory heart of where this is coming from. I myself, my name, for example, it invokes a certain thought of who I am, whether regarding diversity and racial equity. I will tell you that if my brother were here, my sister were here, and my father were here, and my nieces and nephews were here, you would see a very diverse group of people that you might judge as one race or one ethnicity or one background versus another. And I assure you, you would not be correct. The reality is we all come from our different backgrounds. The main concern and the reason I'm here is transparency. I was in LA in the housing projects in 1968, right after the Watts riots. I was there with the Black Panther movement. Because of their movements, I did get to go to Head Start. I did get free health care that my mother could not afford. I did move out of the housing projects, those types of things later on in life. I chose a school district today as a process of learning for the needs of my children, and that had to do with advanced learning. My eldest son, who is autistic, graduated from Lindbergh High School with a 4.7 GPA, international baccalaureate degree, and bilingual in Spanish. He got a scholarship because of that. He still struggled with that scholarship at St. Louis University because they have no programs for autism. Going back to the heart of the matter, during his time here at Lindbergh School District, he got a great education. Nobody figured out that my son is significantly visually impaired learner. Thank goodness he could read. Thank goodness he was reading at the high school level in the 6th grade, at the college level by the time he started middle school. If it weren't for that, he would not have had that. So when I hear about literacy as it relates to a need and a commonality, I guarantee you that is the heart of the matter, including myself and my ability to be here today and provide a living and a resource for my children so we could grow out of poverty, which is the oppression. Poverty is the oppression. I resent the fact that we're using tools that regard oppressed and oppressor instead of equity as it relates to a universal approach to elevating everyone up to a basic understanding of the principles of education so they can thrive and learn and grow and develop and be the person they wish to be. Lastly, I have to make sure that we no longer ask my children to be surveyed and understood on what they think is their own racial or ethnic background, because that's up to me. I don't need to pull out pictures of my family members to help them understand who we are. My job is taking care of that. Your job is to get our children up to that level so they can grow and develop and learn. Thank you.
Next speaker we have, Michelle Yepes.
Good evening, Michelle Yepes, 6 Oswald Point, 63128. Over the past 2 months, an amazing and very informative book study has been occurring in this district. The book chosen is Overcoming Dyslexia. Dyslexia impacts 20% of our children. At each meeting, we've had experts, local experts, local district experts, local state experts, and last night we had a national expert from Canada, Nancy Young. She brought some very great information about how to incorporate what we're learning about dyslexia through the whole entire ladder of reading so it's impactful to all students, from those who are in the top 5% who can read naturally without any issues, all the way to the bottom 10 to 15%, which are dyslexic. All of this has been going on, but unfortunately, what is shown is that it has been very poorly attended by administration, the board, and staff. The shame surrounding dyslexia is evident because no one in the district is promoting the book study or actively discussing it. The shame of the student remains because they still can't read or write or spell as well as their peers. How are we going to collaborate to break the cycle of shame? Thank you.
Thank you. And last, Marilee Sauer on non-agenda item. No, unfortunately, based on our process, we have to have a sign up prior to the meeting.
My name's Marilee Sauer. I live at 9306 Queenston Drive. Since the last meeting, I spoke at the last meeting, I called Dr. Cochran to follow up on that identity activity. And he explained to me that they did that because there are some students that have issues with race. And that's why they have that's why the school has these types of programs. Well, I just wanted to point out, and I did to him as well, DESE has a 3-tiered approach. And it says if some students have issues, there should be strategic efforts. Only if there's there are certain reasons for doing universal programming, and based on what Dr. Cochran told me, that would not meet the DESE 3-tiered approach. Also, I asked for information from Dr. Cochran, and instead he sent me justification in the form of a bunch of surveys. So our students are taking a bunch of surveys, and this one doesn't even make sense. It says, students from my school value people of diverse races or ethnicities. If you hit 1, you strongly agree. If you hit 5, you strongly agree. So this is almost nonsense. Other surveys on different types of these group identity concepts were taken. And, I don't want my child surveyed like this. I think this is absolutely wrong. I think we need opt-outs for surveys. Not only for students, but for teachers and for admin too. If they don't want to do it, they shouldn't have to. We also don't want group identity, and that is in the guidance and counseling curriculums. And so we'd like the board to take a look at that and either get it out or give us an opt-out. And once again, not just for us. The Women in History, it's a course at the high school. Not only does it talk about identity by class, race, ethnicity, and more, it also talks about the oppression matrix, which describes the voices of white elite women and how they predominate versus less privileged women. So empathy is the new thing in school. There are many studies showing that learning to be too empathic can lead to feelings of emptiness and alienation and cause anxiety and depression. We are bombarding our children with empathy in social emotional learning, curriculum, and elsewhere in the school. The amount of empathy training in PAC and similar classes and that is woven into the curriculum needs to be identified and analyzed. I actually believe that Lindbergh might be abusing our children both socially and emotionally with an overabundance of empathy. People don't connect and develop close relationships over painful, disagreeable events. They connect through positive emotions, which are most important to relationships. Finally, I'd like the board to tell us what is Lead for Life, the Lindbergh Life. Dr. Sparks talked about it at a board workshop. She said there's 15 goals to it. There's a class for it at the school. She said she was going to start considering grading our students on this. So we would like the information well in advance so we can understand this. Thank you.
And just to reiterate again, we don't respond publicly, but if you put your contact information on the sheet here, you will be responded to by the district. And when we speak about transparency, again, to go back, the board workshops are publicly available to be attended, and they'll be live streamed as well. So the July workshop, which pertains to a lot of what was spoken about this evening, is accessible by the public. So keep that in mind, please. All right. We'll move to 13.0, which is recess to conduct our executive session. We don't have a need to recess because we already conducted that. So that takes us to 15.0, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn board meeting number 1532?
So moved.
Moved by Christie.
Second.
Second by Matt. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.